The third input on marriage and family is the importance touch has in our life. Hence, this session is Love as Touch. Pope Francis says we need to remember that authentic love also needs to be able to receive the other, to accept one's own vulnerability and needs, and to welcome with sincere and joyful gratitude the physical expressions of love found in a caress, an embrace, a kiss, and in sexual union. It may sound strange that the Pope speaks about bodily intimacy, because naturally we are tempted to touch each other, and we do that. And yet there is a problem here. Why? Because we do things without understanding so often. So let me begin by sharing with you an experience I had at a funeral. Our parish priest was sick and a child was dead in the parish. So he phoned me up, Subhash, take the funeral. Sure. So we reached the cemetery and the coffin was open. I waited for the people to come together, and then I had the final prayer. And when the last prayer was over, I made a sign to the men standing close to me to close the coffin. Before they could get into action, the mother of the child got up, went to the coffin, removed the body and grabbed it. It took me 10 minutes. I asked some ladies to help me. They went to the woman and asked her to give the body. She refused to give the body. So they had to use force. 4 women had to use force. One woman held one hand this side, the other woman held other hand that side, and then the other two took the child, and these 2 women held the mother, and the other 2 women placed the body in the coffin, and they closed it. And she was shouting, "Give me my child, give me back my child." But of course, that was not possible. So the coffin was closed, the body was, it was lowered and covered with dust. Now, why did that mother grab that body? She knew that her child was dead. She knew that nothing on earth could bring her child back to life. She knew that. And yet, she grabbed the body. She didn't want the body to be buried. Why? Because our body is what makes us present to each other. When I explain this to my students, I call one of them, usually a gent, to the stage. And I tell all the others to watch carefully what I do. And I alert them. I said, I am going to ask you a question. You will have to tell me what I do, and therefore look very carefully. And then the student is standing here. I go close to him and I caress his cheek. Some students smile, some giggle. Then I ask them, okay, now tell me what I did. ask me a question. So someone will say, Father, why did you touch him? Or what made you touch him? Or they will ask him, how did you feel when Father touched you? One year I had a naughty sister, nice sister, but a bit mischievous. So she put her hand up. Yes, Lucy, what is your question? Father, why did you not do that to me? Now notice, what did the class students see? What did they actually see? What they saw was my hand touching his cheek. And yet nobody asked me, why did your hand touch his cheek? They asked me, why did you touch him? They asked the student, how did you feel when Father touched you? That naughty sister asked me, why did you not touch me? So the question is, who is this you? Who is this he? What you see is my hand touching his cheek. So how do you see me? How do you see him? You see my body, you see his body. So the body makes us present to the others. This is the realm of what we call symbolic communication. We use signs and symbols. A sign has a meaning, but that meaning need not be shared by others. For example, the word meat. A European, an Englishman, a tourist in the interior of Goa, he has bought some bread, fresh bread from a bakery, and he is looking for a place where he could buy some nice meat dish. He doesn't trust the bakery, the hotel for its bread, because they told him that they sometimes serve old bread. So he asked the hotel man, I need some meat. And he says that in English. But the hotel fellow in the village has no idea of English. So he shakes his head and goes inside and brings a plate with a teaspoon and some salt. The English tourist said, I need some meat. And the shopkeeper brought him some salt. Because in Konkani, meat means salt. So the word meat is a sign. Because we create that word is not there given to us. We create it. And since we create the word, we also give that word a meaning. Meat in English means flesh. Meat in Konkani means sodium chloride, common salt, table salt. Sometimes the same word, for example, bank, has different meanings in English. I am going to the bank to get money. I am going to the bank to have a bath in the river. Two different meanings, because these are signs. Then there are symbols. Symbols are realities given to us. Water, sun, moon, the stars, the flower, the fire. And so, just because water is found everywhere, water has a meaning which is shared by many. So water means purity, because we use water to have a bath. Water means joy, because when we are thirsty, we drink water. Water means fruitfulness, Because with water, our fields bring their crop. If there is no water, the seeds will dry up and there will be no harvest. There will be no crop. So water stands for fruitfulness, for joy, for purity, and this is true wherever you go. So water is a symbol. Now some symbols are very powerful. Water reminds us of purity, and so in baptism we say that by baptism we are purified from our original sin. Now we don't see that. That is a spiritual purification. The water symbolizes. But there are some symbols which not only point to the reality, but they make the reality present. So in that sense, my body is the real symbol of my person. And therefore, when you touch me, when you touch my body, you touch me. And that is why when Jesus said, "Take and eat, this is my body, broken for you," what he is saying is, I, Jesus, my whole life is for you. I have broken myself for you. I have given my person to you. My life, my love, I have given to you. And you also should do the same. You too should break yourself in love for others. Take and eat. This is my body given for you. This is my life given for you. So the body is the sacrament of the person. Hence, it is important that touch becomes more and more part of our family life. The fact that body is the sacrament of my person, the word touch is so important and so beautiful. We use the word touch in many ways. You have touched me by your words. It was a touching song. It was a very touching scene. What I hear is touching. What I see is touching. And when you touch me, I feel you have a warm touch, a gentle touch. So, precisely because the body is so important, touch is important, and because touch is important, it lends itself to many, many different meanings. You have touched me. So, the first thing is the touch between husband and wife. Pope Francis says, young married couples, and I should also say other couples, should be encouraged to develop a routine that gives a healthy sense of closeness and stability through shared daily rituals. This could include a morning kiss, an evening blessing, waiting at the door to welcome each other home, and so on. So, suppose now I am married. What is the Pope telling me? When you get up in the morning, kiss each other, kiss your wife. And when she brings you your hot coffee, as she brings, hold her hand, touch her. Let the day be marked with touches. And touch communicates love. And love is beautiful. And therefore, the more we communicate love, the more beauty there is. And therefore, we need to touch. We can touch throughout the day. I am leaving for my job. My wife puts her hand around me and gives me a hug. Darling, come back safe. And when I come back safe, I give her a hug. We build our love. We assure each other that we care for each other. Love needs to be expressed by touch. Similarly, our children need to be touched. Years ago, when my grandniece, who died last year, she was 23 when she died. But when she was 5 or 6 years old, I was at my sister's place, her granddaughter. And my sister had lost her son-in-law. So her daughter was staying with my sister. And therefore, granddaughter, daughter and mother. So one night, this child is sleeping and I am putting her to sleep by tapping her back. Next morning, this child after breakfast asked me, "Father, why don't you get married?" Why? If you get married, you will be a wonderful father. I felt so happy to hear that. A child telling me, you will be a wonderful father. What made that child say that? She had lost her father. Her mother was busy cleaning up the kitchen. And now she is going to sleep. She is alone. So I take the place of her father and I tap her. She feels nice and she goes to sleep. And possibly she was dreaming about me that night. And she was waiting for the morning to come to tell me, you should get married, you will be a wonderful father. Our children need to be touched. As I said earlier, we become victims of machines. We become victims of gadgets. I'll give you examples. A young couple, they are watching their favorite serial. And their child comes with some painting the child has done. And says, "Papa, look." Papa doesn't pay attention. "Mummy, see." Mummy too also doesn't pay attention. They are busy. And the child insists. Then the father will put his hand round her. But he is still focused on the TV. He has put his hand round her. Good, but not good enough. Stop that TV. Hold your child. Talk to her. Tell her. Look at her painting. And tell her how beautiful it is. Our children need touch. Now, unfortunately, our society has lost touch because of our telephones, our internet, our television. We are in touch with people through the mobile, through the internet. And so often, we are not in touch with the people who are close to us. We know many people far away, but we know them superficially. But the pain, the joy of these people. Look at Jesus. What did he do? He touched people. He touched people contradicting the norms of his society. Sometimes people think in the public we should not touch each other. Husband and wife should not hug each other. Parents and children should not hug each other in public. Our country is a bit funny country. But look at Jesus. The Jewish society also had its norms. For example, a leper could not come close to you. And if a leper came close to you, you had a right to throw stones at him. Get out. What does Jesus do? A leper comes, stands for, "Sir, be merciful to me." Jesus walks up to him, touches him. Touches him. And by touching him, what is Jesus telling that leper? You are precious to me. You are sacred. You are God's image. And by touching you, I touch God's image. You are not dirty. And touching you is not wrong. Jesus touches him. Similarly, a woman with a flow of blood. In Jewish society and also in our country, when a woman is in her monthly, she is impure. For example, in some families in India, that day the woman cannot enter the kitchen. The husband will go and cook. One day, one young man, high caste man, came to see my mother. You would call my mother auntie. And he had married some months back. So usually he would spend a lot of time talking to my mother because he was missing his parents. So my parents were his parents. And my father was in the office. So he would spend time with my mother. So one day he's in a hurry to go. So my mother said, Ramani, today you're in a hurry. Why? Auntie, I got to go and cook. So my mother said, why? What happened to Rukmini? Then I gave my mother a little pinch because I knew what was happening. My mother did not know that his wife was in her monthly, and she was in their community. She couldn't enter the kitchen, and he couldn't touch her. He would become impure. The Jewish law prevented people who were impure from coming close to the others. If they came close to the others and touched them, the others also would be impure. Now Jesus allows a woman with flow of blood to touch him. And she knew that if she touches Jesus, he will be impure. So she comes quietly and touches his clothes. But Jesus wants to honor her. Jesus wants to tell people that what she has done is right. The society thinks what she has done is wrong. But Jesus is determined to tell the society what she has done is right. And because she did what is right, she is healed. We need to perhaps heal our society. We can be very prudish. Don't touch. Can you believe when I was a student in the seminary 60 years ago, we had a rule: don't touch your companions. The rule of touch. We could not touch our own companions. And so we grew up with that attitude of distance. Keep a safe distance. On our trucks, on the highway, you see there, Surakshit Antar Theva. Keep a safe distance. Don't come close. Sometimes we also carry those labels and we think others are carrying those labels. It is important, friends, that within the family we learn to touch each other with love, with compassion, with forgiveness. Look at that father. That boy is dirty. He has been with the pigs. His clothes are stinking. His hair is in a bad shape. He has had no bath for days onwards. He is stinking. And for a Jew, the pigs are the dirtiest. And the father runs. I'm sure the father has heard rumors in the village that his son is looking after pigs. The father knows. And yet when he sees that son, he runs. He just doesn't simply run and say, son, welcome, welcome. He doesn't say a word. He just grabs him and kisses him. Luke says he embraced him and kissed him. And the son is all right. Touch can be healing. Touch can be forgiving. Touch can be supporting. Touch can be encouraging. Lord, you have touched me and I have been healed. We need to touch each other, especially husbands and wives, parents and children, sisters and brothers. We need to touch each other. And the more we touch each other, our life will become more touching. People will feel that we are warm people, people with a heart of love and compassion.